one thing that I think Dan can try is to really think about how to season the working relationship a bit better.
Like salt and pepper?
Yeah, you got to marinate
Oh,
that meat a little bit more.
marinate. Okay.
Yeah, so maybe like, finding some way to find some common ground, find some common topic. Small talk, I think, is really important.
Okay.
Because if today you're new and you are seen as a little bit of an outsider, seen as a bit as a threat, I think try to find some small talk to season that relationship.
Okay.
I think it'll be good.
Today's question was sent in by our listener, Dan. Now, Dan thinks his colleague perceives him as a threat. Let me read Dan's question. I just joined a new company as a contractor. I possess some skill sets that are perceived as versatile, and I have a postgraduate degree in a data-related field. I think an incumbent employee sees me as a threat to her job. She's definitely uncooperative when it comes to work. She will say she doesn't understand my questions and ask me to think through the issues on my own. How can I manage such a situation and turn it around?
Wow, I think interestingly, last week I had someone who had asked me a similar question.
Oh,
so
is this Dan?
No, maybe,
Dan,
but
did you ask him in person?
so I think when we are thinking about working in a workplace, especially when we are new, we often want to look for people who can be our friends and
Yeah,
at least be
allies.
cooperative,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And supportive in our work. But that doesn't always happen.
No.
Yeah. In this particular case, I don't know. There are multiple things are in my mind, right? One, Dan is not an employee; he's a contractor. I'm not sure what that means. What's the difference in the work
Not
relation?
full-time maybe, and seen as lesser?
Maybe seen as an outsider.
Oh, yes, seen as
Maybe
an
that's why
outsider.
the colleague feels a certain way towards him. Could be, or maybe there could be other things that Dan did that the colleague didn't really like.
So rub the colleague off the wrong way.
It could be.
I mean, in Dan's mind, it sounds like it could be an education thing because he did mention the postgraduate degree. I mean, it may or may not be, a reason for this colleague to feel that he's a threat.
So there are many reasons why someone would not be cooperative, and I think our minds can think a lot, can stretch very far towards what did we do wrong, and is there any way that we can salvage that relationship, which is what I guess Dan is asking about, right? So one thing that I think Dan can try is to really think about how to season the working relationship a bit better.
Like salt and pepper?
Yeah, you got to marinate that meat a little bit more.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. So
you see your colleague as a piece of meat. But okay, continue.
yeah, so maybe like, finding some way to find some common ground. Find some common topic. Small talk, I think, is really important.
Okay.
Because if today you're new and you are seen as a little bit of an outsider, seen as a bit as a threat, I think try to find some small talk to season that relationship.
Okay.
I think it'll be good. Maybe you could ask a little bit more about like this colleague's work itself. I mean, not asking for the colleague for help, but maybe commenting like, wow, you did a great job on this piece of work.
Would that come across as fake though? Like, oh, wow, good job. Yeah.
So that's why the seasoning needs to be done nicely.
So that they can see that you're very authentic and you mean what you say.
Yes, correct. So it cannot come across as patronizing or you're just trying to do something to get into the colleague's good books. But I think be genuine about it, right? Like to say that, well, really, I'm really very impressed with this piece of work, or like, wow, thank you for helping me on this part. I think these are small little things that you can do to set up that relationship, the working relationship. So that's the first thing, right? Seasoning it. Then the second thing perhaps is to fine tune, right? So where there are specific instances where Dan and this colleague had a run-in, or maybe they had some disagreements, right? It's important to have some clarity and some communication about it, right? Like, for example, when the colleague says here that, you go and think about it by yourself.
Yes.
Right? I'm not sure whether it's possible, but for Dan to, explain a little bit more why this is a bit of a challenge to do on his own. Okay. And then also maybe to ask that colleague, right, like, could you maybe clarify a little bit for me? Like when you say go and think on your own, like, is there something that you think I should be doing on my own? Or what's my part to play in this? And then also what I hope I hope you can help me for this particular work piece. So,
So it's
ask for some
okay.
clarity.
Yeah, and also I think it's okay to show a bit of vulnerability as well.
Yeah.
If Dan is really clueless when, your colleague says something like this, which sounds quite passive aggressive, Dan can just go, oh, actually I really don't know.
Yeah.
And I kind of need help. Do
Yeah.
you mind helping me?
Yes, I think when you said, looking a bit vulnerable, I think it makes a lot of sense because when Dan's question, right, it reveals a little bit about how maybe he's seen the threat because maybe he has more education and perhaps the colleague is thinking, oh, you should know this, ma. You are already at a higher level of education than me. So maybe appearing a bit vulnerable allows a colleague to lower her guard as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do think that there's some merit to season the relationship and then after fine tune. I think the fine tuning is important. In the fine tuning process, try to find win-win.
Yeah.
And also clarify, lots of ways to clarify, but it's important for them to ask like how she sees it and how he sees it as well, and to try to see how can we make this working relationship, this piece of work for us both. Lastly, I think time is also important.
Unfortunately, yeah, you just need time to let the person get to know you better.
I don't know, but my own personal observations of many situations like this when newcomers join in and then they had a harder time to blend in. After a while, it somehow just works itself out, and maybe it's because someone else newer will come in
and become the junior person that everybody gets to pick on.
Yeah, and then after that, then seen as a regular already.
Okay.
So maybe time itself, even not by doing anything, things could work out.
Also, I think that Dan can also ask this person for advice in terms of their institutional knowledge. So because Dan is new, so Dan can always just say, I actually I don't know how y'all would do this in this company, and I'm still learning. Would you mind, helping me? Give me some background or some history so that I can do my job better.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that the experience part of it is if this colleague does feel a bit insecure that Dan does have, more education, then this colleague will feel that, hey, actually I have something to bring to the table.
Yes.
That legacy knowledge.
Yes. It's part of the seasoning and part of the fine-tuning process.
So Dan, I hope that this chilly situation you have with your colleague will get better soon. And if, like Dan, you have a work-related question, do write it to us. We are at cnapodcasts@mediacorp.com.sg. This podcast is also available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Me Listen, YouTube, where a video version of this is at.
I'm Gerald.
And I'm Tiffany. Have a great work week ahead and be an ally to that colleague of yours. It'll make everyone's day better.